So what do we call the weight of the building materials and the soil around the foundation? We've got four choices: live load, active load, ambient load, and dead load. The answer is indeed dead load. It's a popular state exam question too. What happens, very similar to our real estate program, is we get feedback from students, actually from all across the state, because now that we can live stream this class, it usually brings us a few extra people from other parts of the state that we wouldn't have. So yeah, dead load is what you want to know. It's a popular state exam question too. Let's look at the next question. So foundation systems that are created by drilling holes and filling them with concrete. It's a choice A, B, C, or D. Caissons is A, B is pilasters or pilasters, C is piles, and D is mud-jacked systems. Caissons is indeed the correct answer. Number 3, columns that may be completely concealed in the ground and do not always have footings is known as what? A, bell caissons, B, piles, C, piers, or D, pilasters or pilasters. The answer here is piers. Okay, let's go to the next question. So what performs the same tasks as a knee wall or purlin in residential roof construction? A, the collar tie, B, the dwarf wall, C, the rafter, or D, the strut wall? Indeed, the answer is A, collar tie. Collar tie choice A is correct for this question. Next question. What types of cracks occur early on in the life of a foundation? A, diagonal settlement, B, differential settlement, C, shrinkage, or D, general settlement? Shrinkage cracks is the correct answer. Choice C is correct. So your first question is, what term refers to tapping on a concrete floor slab to know if there is erosion or missing fill below the slab area? Sounding is on page 272 in your book. The answer is sounding. Let's look at the next question. Now, you won't have any true or false on any exam, but this tests your knowledge of reading carefully, because anytime you see a not, an NOT, in a question, your brain doesn't think in terms of non-truisms, they think in terms of truisms. So always reread questions 2 or 3 times when you have a not in there. Mortar is not considered an important structural component in wall assembly. True or false? Of course, it is an important structural component. So as steel corrodes, it will expand how many times its original volume based on your careful understanding of the material? We're looking for a number now. It could be a range as well. Show me the answer now. The answer is 6 or 10 times. That's exactly the way you want to know it for exam purposes. 6 or 10 times. This is found on page 273 in your book. So here's one you need to know. Staggering bricks so that the higher bricks project beyond the lower bricks is known as what? The answer starts with a C. So corbelling can be found on page 280 in your book. The answer is corbelling. So ideally, a collar tie should be located approximately where in relation to the rafter span? At the end, at the beginning, at the middle, 2/3 of the way down. That's the kind of answer we're looking for. The optimal answer is, of course, halfway up the rafter span. That can be found on page 300. And we say halfway up the rafter span. So next question. So overall, what is the purpose of a collar tie? What's the purpose of a collar tie? So if you saw this as multiple choice, you want to pick sagging. You don't want to have the rafter sag, and it's the purpose of the collar tie. It's found on page 301. So to keep rafters from sagging is the optimal answer. Next question. Where does the majority of condensation damage occur when considering a typical exterior wall on a wood frame constructed wall? Of course, these items are located in the lower portions of the home, sole plates, in the bottom of the studs because condensation runs down the wall cavities and accumulates in the sole plates. This is found on page 282, in case you wondered. Next question, what two items basically performs the same function as collar ties? Again, what two items basically perform the same function as collar ties? So of course, knee walls and purlins found on page 302. Again, this is really good exam review, ladies and gentlemen. So what did we say actually today? What did we say occurs in the wintertime? Again, what did we say occurs in the wintertime? It's very disturbing to homeowners and causes considerable cosmetic disruption, where literally the top floor ceilings raise up off the interior walls. Good job, folks. Truss uplift on page 306. Truss uplift. Next, in terms of plywood, what does FRT, plywood, stand for, and who cares? What's the importance of that FRT code? So we care because common attic temperatures tend to activate the chemicals in the wood. So with the high temperatures that the attic can get to, it weakens the chemicals. And the ability of the wood will start to lose, like the staples won't hold as well. And this thermal degradation is the word that we use, thermal degradation. So we tell you that wood is considered green if it has a moisture content greater than what percentage? So 19% or more. This is another common state exam question, plus I saw it on my national exam. What does the term friable refer to? So asbestos fibers that become airborne. Got to know that, ladies and gentlemen. Super, super important. So blistering tends to happen to wood because of what two reasons? So this comes from the exterior portion of the program. Again, blistering tends to happen to wood because of what two reasons? So the optimal answer is painting whatever that surface is in the direct sunlight and too much moisture in the wood. You never want to paint wood or stain wood if it's still damp or if it rained recently and was exposed to the elements. Of course, doing it in the direct sunlight is also not an optimal situation. True or false? Drip edge flashing will be found above the fascia board, relatively speaking. So here's the next question coming up. So what term refers to the thin coat of cement plaster that may or may not be found on foundation walls? What do we call that thin coat of cement plaster that you might see? Harging. Harging, which is often not found on poured concrete. Details will follow on page 90 if you want to look that up. This is something we covered the first day of the program. Most serious wall problems are related to what? One way or another. Water, water, water. You got it. So for most types of sidings, ladies and gentlemen, again, for most types of sidings, what is true if they are chronically wet? Let me show you the optimal answer. So they tend to discolor. That's the answer we're looking for. They tend to discolor. It's also on page 58 in your materials. True or false? Flashing can be shorter on a roof if the pitch is lower. True or false? False. So if the pitch is higher, then this is true. Again, it's reading carefully. Here's a new question. How much area does a square of roofing material cover? Popular state exam question 2. How much area does a square of roofing material cover? Of course, one square is 100 square feet. So when you see the term salvage roofing, what is this another name for? It's another name for salvage roofing. I'll show you the optimal answer. So indeed, roll roofing is correct. What type of flashing might you see if one piece of siding is installed above another, or where siding pattern changes or is used at horizontal joints in panel type sidings? Doesn't get shorter than Z, does it? Z flashing, found on page 97 in your materials, is the optimal answer. This is a popular state exam question, and I remember it on my national exam too. What's another name for a saddle, and what function does it serve? Saddle, saddle, saddle. Of course, we're looking for an answer that starts with the letter C, but not chimney. So cricket indeed is the answer. It deflects water and snow from around the chimney, preventing it from accumulating against the top side of it. Another name for the scratch coat or the first coating in a traditional stucco application is, again, another name for the scratch coat or first coating in a traditional stucco application is called what? Base coat is indeed the correct answer. Here's a new question. What term refers to the metal stop that is exposed below the stucco that provides the finished edge, allows drainage, and prevents water from being drawn up into the wall? What do we call this? Drip screed is on page 65. That's drip screed on page 65 in your materials. Here's the next question. True or false? EIFS is brittle compared to traditional stucco wall sheathing? True or false? So the answer is found on page 69, but indeed it is false. It's the other way around. EIFS is bendy. So if you're inspecting a home that has wood shingled exterior, how much of a space should you observe between the wood shingles? In other words, what is the optimum spacing we're looking for? You're looking at a wood shingled exterior home. 3/8 of an inch. This allows for swelling. So again, 3/8 of an inch. This will be found on page 75 in your materials. Here's a new question. How many inches of foundation wall above grade should you be able to see before the siding part of the siding begins? So you're outside, you're doing your exterior inspection, you see foundation wall, and then you see where the siding begins. What's the optimal answer? Indeed you are. Page 89 is where you'll find that if you're not sure. It is a range, by the way. So what's another name for head flashing, and what's its purpose? Again, what's another name for head flashing, and what's its purpose? So drip cap flashing is the name that we're looking for. It's installed over windows and doors with homes that have siding in order to divert water out of the wall cavities. So fill in the blank. The blank is like a joist attached directly to the house wall. Joists are typically supported on the blank. So there's one answer. It's the same for both blanks. Dreaded ledger board. The ledger board is like a joist attached directly to the house wall. Joists are typically supported on the ledger board. Page 111 is where you'll find anything you ever wanted to know about a ledger board but was afraid to ask. So while inspecting a home, if you notice exposed fasteners or nails while you're looking specifically at the roof, what should be your main concern as a home inspector? You are correct. An increased risk of leakage is the optimal answer. Yes. So we like to ask you questions both ways because we don't know what New York State's going to do. And here's a question that's similar to one you had earlier. If you have enough roofing material to cover a 100 square foot area, what term is most closely associated with this? A square is the optimal answer. So in terms of roofs that have wood shakes or wood shingles, which of the two are generally thicker and have a more uneven surface compared to the other? So again, which ones are thicker and have a more uneven surface? Give us your optimal answer. So wood shakes are thicker. Wood shingles are machine cut, typically thinner, and have a more even surface or texture compared to wood shakes. So what type of flashing is used where two different roof slopes come together to form a low trough so water runs off one end? What kind of flashing is optimal here? So valley flashing is indeed the correct answer. That's what it looks like. Next question. On a roof with a slope of 4 and 12, what is the run? Again, on a roof with a slope of 4 and 12, what is the run? So the run is 12. Don't forget, the formula is rise over run. Rise over run. So from the choices provided, which slope is the lowest? 4 and 12, 6 and 12, 2 and 12, or none of these are considered low sloped. Course choice C is the lowest of all the slopes provided. One thing I want to tell you about the state exam and most state exams and national exams, rarely is the answer none of the above or none of these. I want you to write that down so you know that when in doubt and your brain does a complete stop and just is confused, don't ever pick the answers that are none of these. Here's a new question. Generally speaking, what's true about steeper roofs compared to more shallow roofs? So you should know, ladies and gentlemen, that steeper roofs last longer than shallow roofs, and they shed water better. That's the reason why they last longer. And they also dry out more quickly. This is everything you need for your argument about why steeper roofs are better. Let's look at the next question. So what did we mention in class that was an important consideration when you see a previous repair to a roof? So when you inspect a roof and you see that there was a repair that was made on it, what's important for you to think about? These areas present some of the highest incidences of future leakage potential. So it's kind of like if you break your arm. If you break your left arm, it'll never be as strong as it was before it was broke. That's why whenever you inspect any components at the property and a repair is made to a wall or to a floor or to a whatever, you always recommend monitoring, ladies and gentlemen. Always recommend monitoring, because that now becomes the weakest part of that component. So the chance for a future problem is greater at that component. So when looking at a roof and you see that it has a low slope or changes in slope, has wide soffits or larger eave overhangs, if it has party walls nearby, discolored siding that starts near the soffit areas, and icicles hanging off the gutters, what's the term that you need to think of that we covered last week? Ice damming or ice dams is correct. So what's the normal life expectancy of an asphalt shingled roof? We covered this last week, and I told you this is the answer New York wants you to put no matter what. Okay, so make sure you know this. This is definitely going to be on the exam. 15 to 25 years. Next question, where is chimney flashing recommended? This indeed is the optimal answer. Flashing is required at the bottom, top, and sides. Bottom, top, and sides. Bottom, top, and sides. In general, the majority of roof leak problems are related to what? Again, in general, the majority of roof leak problems are related to what? So most roof leak problems, ladies and gentlemen, are related to flashing issues. Here's a new question. What's the big deal with nails being driven too far into a shingle? Why do we care about this? It might pull right through and therefore not hold it in place. That is your optimal answer. And it's a practical thing as well. Don't think it doesn't happen. It happens a whole bunch. Name 3 problems associated with asphalt roofs that have multiple layers. So 3 problems that are associated with an asphalt roof that has multiple layers. So number 1, nails may be too short to actually penetrate the roof sheathing. Number two, the roof won't be able to dry as quickly, which will lead to an accelerated deterioration of the roof. And flashing may not have been appropriately adjusted or replaced and therefore is not functioning adequately. So those are your optimal answers. The flashing on a roof can be shorter if what? This is your answer. The roof has a higher pitch. So what term refers to the thickening of a foundation wall in order to receive the concentrated load of a beam that rests on top? This might also be used to reinforce a foundation wall if necessary. Last year is correct. As a general rule, what kind of foundation cracks are more serious when compared to others that you might see? Horizontal are more serious compared to vertical. What term refers to a different method of establishing a substructure when the soil quality is poor? Hint, the equipment to do this is more specialized and the overall process is much more expensive than establishing footers. Piles, ladies and gentlemen, piles. Make sure you know this. True or false, if a home inspector notices an open crack, it's safe to assume that things are moving apart. True or false? True is the correct answer. What term did we review that refers to columns that may be completely concealed in the ground, or they can project above the ground, and they do not always have footings? Piers is the correct answer. Piers. What should you find between the top of the foundation wall and the sill working from the ground up? Again, what should you find between the top of the foundation wall and the sill working from the ground up? Sill gasket is correct. Good job, folks. What do we call columns that are built into perimeter walls? Pilasters. Pilasters, ladies and gentlemen. What kind of support does a home's floor framing and joists provide when connected to the foundation wall? Again, what kind of support does a home's floor framing and joists provide when connected to the foundation wall? Lateral support is indeed the correct answer. Lateral support. What do we call the base coat of a stucco home? It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. Again, what do we call the base coat of a home that has stucco? And it's about 3/8 of an inch thick. Okay, let's show you the optimal answer here. Scratch coat is indeed the correct answer. So in residential roof framing, what item performs the same tasks as a purlin or knee wall? Collar tie is correct. Again, what kind of cracks should home inspectors watch for closely when a home is built on a sloping lot? Differential settlement cracks is the optimal answer. differential settlement cracks. Roll roofing is usually nailed in place and then overlapped. The roofer makes sure to secure the nail heads with plastic cement, which is also known as what? Mastic or elastic cement is correct.